Well, hello folks, lovely day. Good to be with you for this week's Mayor's Message. I have a special guest with me today. We're moving around the community with local residents at different times now, and today we've invited our local legend of the Wynyard Football Club, Mr. Roxley Snare. Welcome, Roxley, to this week's Mayor's Message. It's good to have you along.
Hi Robbie, thank you for considering me to be worthy of being involved in your message.
No, well look, when we start to think about the legends around the area and what they've done for different establishments and in the community, you was the foremost in our mind. So look, we're glad to have you on board, and the honour that's going to be bestowed upon you is another thing I'd like to talk about in naming this grandstand that we're sitting on at the moment, the Roxley Snare Grandstand. And that event's going to take place on the 20th of July, I understand. How do you feel about that, Rox?
Oh well, I feel proud, honoured, but at the same time it makes you feel quite humble as well, Robbie.
I know how you feel.
It certainly does. Yeah.
You wouldn't. You're hard to be feeling so much for this, and by the same token, you'd feel that, oh, do I deserve this? And my word, mate, I can assure you, if anyone deserves it for what they've done in the community, it's you, Roxley.
Well, thank you for that. We go back a fair way, you know, with our footy.
We do.
Don't we?
Yeah, we go back a long way, and further than footy, I think our generations before us were family friends and things like that.
Yeah.
I can clearly remember your dad and my dad, and you know, that then I guess our grandfathers were around. So how many generations of the Snare family would have been living in the Wynyard municipality?
Oh dear. Well, grandfather George came down from Ulverston, and my dad Cliff and Uncle Vic share farmed at Boat Harbour. Aussie's still out there, and our group is in Wynyard. So there's a few generations of the Snares around, and I remember back in our young days, your dad Henry.
Yep.
And my dad Cliff, and they had involvements in hack horses, draft horses, and very much into sheepdogs, weren't they?
Yeah, they really,
very much.
They were. Yeah, they were rural people, weren't they? You know,
certainly were.
Country people and people, neighbours and things like that. They meant so much to be in touch with your neighbour of the same interests and things like that. But look, now in regard to the old NWFU and the Wynyard football ground and the competitions that used to be, you know, in the 60s, I guess one of the major things that we had in our mind was the Coghlan era, the John Coghlan era.
Yeah, well, and we still ask ourselves what was wrong with our footies in the 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s of the NWFU, and then the NTFL and all the changes now. But yeah, John Coghlan came here in 1963, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
And he was a revelation for the Wynyard Football Club and for the municipality as well.
Yep.
He brought so much to our club. He had his differences and all that sort of thing, but we all have those.
Yes.
But he was so much value, and really put the Wynyard Football Club on the map, Robbie, with his involvement, and his wife Shirley as well. They brought all the bunting and the banners and all that, and they were great for not only for Wynyard Football Club, for NWFU and for state football.
Yep. And the community rocks benefited from John choosing to come here to Wynyard. Look, he shaped the future of many a young man in this community. He shaped their discipline. He made a huge mark on their pathways that they took in life. And as we look around of the young fellas that played in their 60s time under Coghlan's reign, we see members our age now of the community wandering around, and they are well-respected young men, older men, and the offspring that they brought up under the manner and the education and the discipline that Coghlan instilled into them has rubbed off on their families too.
Yeah, certainly have. He was a great disciplinarian, had high values of life, and he certainly instilled that into the members of his team. And you know, he brought about, what was it, nine under-19s up into the side in must have been about 66, if I remember rightly. And because they went on then and won that premiership in 67, and as we still say, we won the state premiership at Burnie at West Park against North Hobart, because when they abandoned the game, we were in front on the scoreboard, weren't we?
We certainly was, Ross. We certainly
yeah,
was.
So that was a great day.
Wasn't it ever? That'll go down in history. And I know people in Western Australia and half an hour after that game finished, had the news of what happened and the goalpost being dismantled and things like that. But look, out on the ground, the 67 seconds grand final, look, I can clearly remember, you know, it was a great day up at Devonport, and we had 3 teams represented on the day, and 2 of them got home, the seconds, the reserve side and the seniors.
That's
and
right, yep.
It rocked the town, didn't it? It rocked the town, it put us on the map. I can remember when Coglan come to town, he had the milk bar down the street, look, and all us young fellas would go there just to see the man and admire him. He was a legend. We drank that many milkshakes there. We went red in the face, I think, but that was the place to be. Coglan opened his milk bar, he had a pie run, he took lots of young people under his wing around the place that needed that direction, and done wonders. But anyway, back to the 67 grand final. Can you remember that half back line in the reserves? Can you remember it at all?
Well, it was fairly notable, wasn't it, really, when you look at us sitting here today, and I think it was Walsh. That would have been you, wouldn't it?
That was
me, yeah.
That was
and a good teammate friend of ours, Charles Hanson.
Yes.
And of course myself on the other flank, and we had some great players in that team, and it's something with a team sport, Robbie, is that you make friends for life.
Yes.
And we often talk about that year, because the reserves also won in '66, so we were part of a '67 back-to-back premiership.
Yep. And who would have thought 46 years later, 46 years later, that Roxley Snare would be sitting on the Wynyard Football Club grandstand, looking to the future of with Robbie that played on the half-back flank beside him was the mayor, and here we are sitting here on the grandstand. The grandstand is going to be named after Rox, and never in my wildest dream could I have thought that I'd have been mayor of the Waratah-Wynyard municipality, nor many of other people would have thought the same thing. So it just shows that you know what a
the wheel that turns, the life wheel that turns around. We don't know the future, do we?
No,
and
no.
as you said, it's pretty amazing when we think of that, and you know, the involvement that we've had with our sport and the municipality as well. And it's a wonderful little area, Wynyard, and we should be all so very proud of it.
Yep. And you as a businessman all your life in town, Roxley, you know, the contact you had with the people. You know, look, you had a team of men working for you. You went from a one-man show to a team of apprentices and things like that.
Yep.
You had Falcon, you station wagons going everywhere with Roxley Snare electrician on them, and you covered the coast, didn't you?
Yeah, 39 years of my own business, and the municipality covered all areas of the municipality. And when you get out of it, what you miss, or what I miss, is the involvement with the people. But that's why I appreciate my time here at the Wynyard Football Club, because I meet so many people, and I meet so many fine young people that are coming up in life, and that helps to keep you young. I'm sure of that. And you know, our club this year, I think they should be congratulated that they have brought up so many young players into the senior side to replace, I think, about 11 of last year's grand premiership side. And those boys are committing themselves so very well and performing so well, and you know, still have a great chance of at least playing off in a grand final. And if you can get to the grand final, anything can happen on grand final day.
Yeah, that's right. It reminds you so much of '67. The way the young people have come from, brought up, and they've come to the task, haven't they?
They sure have. Yes.
Yeah, there's one thing that I'd like to mention, and I just wonder whether it rings a bell with you. As we trained here in '67 and in the '60s with Coglan, and we'd go out and do our 4 laps to warm up, and then he'd call us into the middle, and we'd have some kicking practice, circle work and things like that, and he'd pick a few of us out, and then he'd gather us all in at the end of training into a big group, and I can still see him walking around in the middle of that big circle, bouncing the ball and looking at us and talking. He was never short of words. He was a great speaker. He walked past me, and as he bounced the ball the first time, it come back up into his arms, and he turned and he punched me fair in the guts, and he said, "Pay attention, mate."
That's right. Yeah.
And I
took you 5 minutes to recover.
Yeah, he winded me, and as he got around to you, he said, "Snare, 20 laps." Rox Snare jogged off without turning a hair to do these 20 laps, and he looked at the rest of us and he said, "Fellas, that's what I want, commitment." And Rox was halfway around his first lap, and he yelled out, "Go in and have a shower, Roxley." And that's what commitment, and that's what that made young fellas those days into men today, I believe, Rox.
Well, we admired him so much that we daresn't say, no, I'm not going to do it, or something like that,
No.
because we'd have been in big trouble, Robbie.
If he said jump off the Emu Bridge, we'd have jumped off the Emu Bridge.
Yeah, certainly would have done.
I remember the night we left here from the footy ground and we ran to Busby's, the aviation tower on Busby's Hill. We then come back and crossed the Inglis River, half of us nearly drowned. We went round in Russell Bluff and we continued around the coastline up to the Cape, and previously in that afternoon he'd put 40 or 50 oranges around on under the cliff there.
That's
near
right.
Ransley's.
Yep.
We had an orange. We continued out onto the Table Cape Road and come back to the football ground. Now that was a training run and a half, wasn't it?
That was a big run, and there was another time when we went to the Cape, and 42 left the ground here to go to the Cape, and when we got to the Cape there were only 41.
Oh, really?
But when we got back to the ground again there were 42. And one of our well-known players, whose name I won't mention because he unfortunately is now deceased, he spent some time under the Inglis River Bridge, Table Cape Bridge there, while we went to Table Cape Lookout, Lighthouse, and returned.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
Wonderful memories, Roxley. And look, I think that nearly draws us to the time we've got allotted to our camera today. We should have had 2 batteries to go in it, the amount of things that we can relate to, but I thank you very much for making the time available for this interview. I congratulate you in anticipation of the naming of the grandstand on the 20th of July, and I certainly hope to be here and share the special moment at the ceremony.
Thank you, Robbie, and thank you so much for the opportunity, and I thank the Wynyard Football Club for initiating this idea, and the Waratah-Wynyard Council for agreeing to it as well. So thank you so much.
Good on you, Rox. Thank you.